This is also a really good removal suite to match up against Jeff's deck, because Ultimate Price and Bioblight, both very effective tools.
Yes.
And Devour Flesh, not very good against Jeff's list.
Again, we get to find out here pretty quickly. Jeff's deck is innovative, of course, because Jeff is a very innovative deck builder. So we'll see how he stands up to the stock decks. That's the big deal here. If his deck is getting into stock decks, then his deck becomes a stock deck.
For sure.
That's how it works. So Hoogland's on your left, Bernal is on your right. We'll see who will play first here in just a moment between these two players. It is round number 8 of 10. 515 players did come to do battle here in St. Louis. And soon enough, we will work it down to 8 that will do battle tomorrow morning. Bernal will begin with a Temple of Deceit. Round number 8 is underway.
I think in this matchup overall, I like Joe's chances. I think he's got the right tools for the matchup. His removal suite lines up very nicely against what Jeff's up to. But Jeff, with a lot of power in his deck and a couple very problematic cards for Joe, especially Nissa.
And this is Xenagos, Goblin Rabblemaster as well. Read the bones to draw some cards, of course. This is a Thoughtseize here from Bernal. We will see Hoogland's hand of an Abrupt Decay, a Sylvan Caryatid, a Nissa, a Thoughtseize of his own, and a Mizium Mortars, along with a Stomping Ground and a Temple of Abandon. And
this is a problem that I think Jeff had in the black-white mid-range matchup that we saw, and it's going to manifest itself here. He has a lot of hands that are disconnected, are individual pieces, and very susceptible to getting Thoughtseize as a result. He has removal that only lines up against a class of Joe's cards. He has, one real substantial threat in this hand with a Nissa. This is very susceptible to go nowhere if Joe takes the right card with Thoughtseize, and then Jeff does not draw well for a few turns.
Joe is deep in the tank now. What to take is the question. Do you take a Thoughtseize, hidden information? This is a great card against this deck. Could shut down the acceleration too, if you have to imagine Hoogland's going to play a Sylvan Caryatid next turn.
Well, he may Thoughtseize if Joe does not take it.
That's true. Caryatid's going to bite the dust. There's a Temple of Silence there. Take a look at the top card, consult the grip, put it on bottom, pass it back to Hoogland. Hoogland will draw a card. It's a Nissa. That's a Thoughtseize. Joe very quickly leaves out his hand of Pack Rat, Desecration Demon, Underworld Connections, a Hero's Downfall, and a Mutavault. And Jeff says, let me take a better look at this.
And I think Joe taking the Caryatid and anticipating he can just be more efficient than Jeff this game. Jeff's hand also with no answer to Desecration Demon. So that might be the line of play here as well.
And when taking Caryatid, it's very clear that Joe wanted to slow Jeff down and did not mind being Thoughtseized. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. That's going to go to the bottom very quickly, and we're back to Bernal. We know Bernal has a land. He picked up a copy of Thoughtseize. That's a timely draw. Take a look. 2 Nissas and a Mortars, along with the Decay. Decay is going to bite the dust. The reason for that, of course, is because of the Underworld Connections in Joe's hand.
And now the door is open, as you mentioned, to get that online. Great sequencing here from Joe.
And timely Thoughtseize as well, but it is a very, very powerful card at almost all points of the game.
And Joe, unwilling to just trade this Pack Rat with a Mortars. Feels like he can do something better down the line.
It just feels like the turn 5 Pack Rat. Play and then activate it on 5. Here's a Read the Bones. That's a big draw for Jeff. So both players drawing very, very well.
Got to be the best draw in Jeff's deck on that turn.
I think so.
He's still just light on resources right now, and he needs to get all the way up to 5 mana to really do anything of note.
2 cards going to go to the bottom. 2 mystery cards coming here for Jeff. He ends up taking 4 damage on that turn, 2 from the Stomping Grounds and then 2 from the Read the Bones. Bernal going to very quickly play that Underworld Connections, but he does not have a 4th land, so all he can do is pass the turn back over to Hoogland, who now has the ability to start pulling ahead if he can play a land and work his way towards Nissa. And there is a land. Let's see what this is. It's a Scavenging Ooze. And Jeff will pass the turn back over to Joe. Bernal will draw a card. He's going to activate the Underworld Connections. Pay a life. Peel another one. Down to 15 he goes. Didn't find a land. He's in some trouble now.
Yeah. If Jeff has land number 5, he's in huge trouble. I believe that Nissa is Jeff's best card in the matchup.
And Joe does just play an Underworld Connection, see if Jeff has the 5th land. And he does not. All he can do is pass the turn back, so Bernal does dodge a huge bullet there. Bernal draws a copy of Temple to see it. We'll see if he wants to activate connections first.
And now this is a spot where Joe may consider deploying the pack rat, because if Jeff uses a Mortars, well, that's his entire turn, effectively. And if he has Nissa, he'll be much happier having a creature in play. So
I love deploying background on this turn, but if Putrefy blows up Bernal's plan, Hoogland with a Xenagos, not so bad. And that'll make a Satyr token. And it'll be an attack for 2. Bernal will also pay a life to draw another card, so he's going to go down to 12. You know he's got copies of Hero's Downfall in his hand. He's going to go down a little bit lower here. There's a Temple. No basic Swamp Shed here for Joe.
nope.
Going to scry here with the Temple. Leave that card on top. And he will Hero's Downfall the Xenagos.
And Joe just needs, one turn of breathing space here. Fortunately for him, Jeff has not found land number 5 yet.
There's a Courser. This will help. Nope. There's an attack for 2.
That's bad news for Jeff, too, because if Joe's able to kill this Courser, land number 5 on time is not coming next turn either.
That is the truth. Bernal's at 9. Hoogland at 16.
It's a really stressful game for both players. You can feel it on both sides of this. Just need a little bit more to take this game over.
2 mana. Perhaps it's pack rat time. They can shift things in a big way. Bernal's going to slow down just a touch.
And both of these players, walking on a razor's edge right now with how this game is shaping up. So
Hero's Downfall going to take care of the Courser. See what this is. There's the pack rat. With the ability to activate a Mutavault to make it a 2/2 if necessary. Bernal knows that Hoogland's not drawing a 5th land. He's just drawing another copy of Courser of Crewfix.
And this is more good sequencing from Joe, trying to take Jeff's entire turn if Jeff wants to use a removal spell.
Hoogland turns over a copy of Golgari Charm. It's an attack here for 2. Bernal could block and activate Mutavault to trade with the token. That's exactly what he will do. So not going to overvalue the pack rat. Happy with the exchange to keep his life total high. High life total, means more cards with Underworld connections.
Yeah. Also unclear if he can win the game with pack rat at this juncture. So
down to 8. Looks like the draw may have been a copy of Ultimate Price. Yes, it is.
It's another spot where, he knows Jeff's not drawing a land next turn. Any response is going to require Jeff's entire turn.
Yeah, he's starting to pull ahead now. And that's an Underworld Connections on the Temple.
And I like this a lot from Joe, too. Now, Jeff's drawing a Golgari Charm. You want to get this online because Jeff's probably going to spend his turn charming one of these anyway. You want to have a second connections ready to go.
Yep. There's the Charm off the top that takes care of the connections, but Bernal does have a backup one. Swamp is the draw for the turn. You can see the Desecration Demon in his hand. Not a bad spot for Grey Merchant if it does show up. So Bernal goes down to 7, draws another copy of Connections. Mutavault feeling a touch frisky. That's coming in. Hoogland's going to go down to 14. Bernal with a Swamp and a Desecration Demon uses all of his mana for the turn, kicks it back over to Hoogland. That 5th land, it's got to come just about now, I think, for Jeff.
I think that Joe has done a brilliant job of managing the pace of this game.
I agree. There's a Dreadbore.
He's forcing Jeff to play very inefficiently.
Yeah, what's happened now is Jeff was kind of the aggressor. Now he's playing defensively.
Yeah.
And when Black takes that role where they're the aggressive deck and you have to try to stop them, that means that their connections get so much better. Bernal's going to go down to 6. Nightveil Spectre was the draw. It's very, very tough to, to beat him in this situation. There's a land. Connections will go on the Swamp. There's that. finally a 5th land there for Hoogland, but
And
it might be too late.
And it's important that it was a land that comes into play untapped.
Yeah.
Because, there's quite a few temples in his list as well. This is another spot. Can you even commit Nissa to the board this turn? It's not clear to me that's efficient enough.
It's just not great, right? You play this. He's going to untap 2 lands and mortars. That's actually not bad.
It's not a bad turn.
Yeah. Entry the connections here. Bernal's going to go down to 5. If you're Joe, I think honestly what you're looking for, again, is just a copy of Grey Merchant.
That would be the ideal. In the meantime, he can whittle this Nissa down. He can use a Hero's Downfall on it. He can try to get in a couple shots from Mutavault here along the way.
And there's the Grey Merchant finally for Joe. He's going to be able to gain and drain 6. He's up to 11. That's more cards for him via connections. Hoogland's going to go down to 8. It might see just a Hero's Downfall now, too.
Well, I don't know. It may not be worth the 2 cards here. Looks like we are going to see it. This is purely a tempo play because he knows there's a second copy of Nissa in Jeff's hand.
And Jeff draws his card for the turn.
So unless Jeff draws an untapped land this turn, he can't really deploy the second Nissa.
Yep.
He makes a 4/4, but Joe can just take care of that or attack Jeff down to 4.
There's the second Nissa.
Christopher Heskett, please come to the main stage.
Now he's got to figure out what he wants to do with it. It starts on 3, of course. It's always going to go up to 4. But does he want to untap lands or try to make a 4/4? That's the big question. He will make the temple into a 4/4 and just pass the turn back. Bernal's going to untap. Again, 1 Grey Merchant seals the deal. He's got 3 draws at it, 1 for his draw step, 2 from connections. Well, that's all it takes. There's the second Grey Merchant, and Joe Bernal is going to win game number 1 here over Jeff Hoogland. Mono Black Devotion up a game here over Judd Rabble.
And the concerns that I have in this matchup were on full display there from Jeff's side. Joe's tools just work. They always just work.
Yep.
Jeff needs the board to line up in particular ways. He needs to draw the right answer card for the right threat. And some games that's going to happen, but there's a lot of pressure on him to not slip up, and it's just hard when a deck like Mono Black Devotion, Black White Midrange, they come at you from so many different angles.
Sideboard time. Jeff's got himself an additional Golgari Charm, a Thoughtseize, a Doomblade, another Scavenger used to go along with a 3 in his main deck, 2 Rakdos Return, 3 Mistcutter Hydras, a Mizium Mortars, an Ultimate Price, a Hero's Downfall, and then 3 copies of Anger of the Gods. I mean, we're in an attrition war here.
Yeah, the Hero's Downfall, I think the Ultimate Price is reasonable to bring in here as well. I think the removal like Busy Mortars is not great. I think the 2 copies of Rakdos Return and the Thoughtseize, the Golgari Charm, they're all good here.
Other side, what do you see?
4 Duress, 4 Doomblade, 3 Lightbane Zombie, 2 Erebos, God of the Dead, 2 Liliana Vest. That's the best way to sort of polarize these 2 decks. Joe's sideboard, just all straightforward. This is the stuff that I want. I think the 4 copies of Duress are very good here. He can even bring in the Doomblades. Jeff brings enough targets to the table. 2 copies of Erebos, and I think Liliana Vest is good here as well.
I think Liliana's great in this matchup.
Yeah.
If Joe's able to get it down on a stable board, I think he's almost certainly going to win that game.
I think that Joe can pretty safely cut his Bile Blights for Doomblades, basically just a straight upgrade in the matchup. The problem is he's got so many cards he could hypothetically bring in. I don't know how deep he's going to want to go, and he doesn't really want to cut his anti-control stuff, but I could imagine Pack Rat getting cut in this matchup. I could imagine even Nightveil Spectre, because the colors don't quite line up the right way. We'll see how he sideboards, but he has a lot of cards he can bring in.
Quarter 4 schedules we're going to look at right now. The reason for that is because we've got a lot to talk about. We're here in St. Louis right now, September 6th and 7th. Next week, and Matthias Hunt and Jerry Thompson will take care of Atlanta. Then we'll have a week off because that's Cons of Tarkir pre-release.
Yep.
And then when we do our dual open series weekend in Jersey and Indy, that's when players get to make their mark on the weekend. That's Con's first weekend.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And our first ever dual open series weekend. So treading new ground here. There will be only the 1 coverage team. It'll be me and Matthias in New Jersey. But if you're interested in playing standard, there's going to be 2 huge tournaments to play in. We
go to Orlando after that for the Grand Prix. Yumi and Matthias will take care of Cons of Tarkir sealed deck. Worcester, Minneapolis, Oakland. Hope we don't get sick of each other by then. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, if we get sick of each other by then we're going to have a really rough November and December because we are going to be hanging out quite a bit.
Take a look at the next couple of shows here. We're going Portland. We'll also do Seattle and Roanoke to close things out. So season 4 is going to be a lot of magic, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be absolute blast. And for these players who are racing for points, Jeff among them, a lot of tournaments to be played in, and the race is going to be very tight.
Those last 2 weeks there, the Seattle Invitational, our 4th Invitational of the year, we're going to lock up 9 slots for the Players' Championship at that tournament, and then Roanoke the following weekend. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We already know 6 players that are going. Derek Sheets, Brian Braun to win, Chris Van Meter, Tom Ross, Reed Duke, and Joe Lissette.
A good squad.
Oh, yeah. And it's only going to get better. You see Bernal shuffling up here for game number 2. He's up a game here over Jeff Hoogland. Mono Black Devotion here for Joe. Jund Rabble for Jeff. Jeff had a pretty nice invitational, a good start. Just didn't finish up the way he wanted.
And I just found out that I have the pre-release weekend off. I didn't even know that.
Oh.
I don't even know what I'm going to do now. I have a weekend
We all
off.
have the pre-release weekend off.
Yeah, but I just didn't know scheduling-wise. I knew that I had next weekend off, but not the weekend after. I don't even know what I'm going to do. What am I even going to do?
Do the same thing as me.
What?
Nothing. Weekends off are, it's like gold, man.
Yeah.
Put those feet up. Do nothing.
I don't know, man. On my timeout now, I just while out. I can't even help it. So we'll see. Anything sweet going on in San Diego, Orange County, LA, you guys let me know.
Yep. My goal is to not put on pants for 2 days.
Okay.
So I'll see how that works. 7 cards each. See what Jeff can find here on the play. And he was very close to turning the corner and getting the job in the last game. Just didn't find the 5th land on time.
Yeah.
That's it. Temple of Abandon is the mighty Thoughtseize. You better believe it. Sylvan Caryatid, Nizia Mortars, a bunch of lands, couple temples among them. His hand is, relatively Thoughtseize proof.
It's the Scry lands help so much in hands like this.
And the big thing, though, is, if Joe takes your Mortars and he plays Pack Rat, you're in some trouble if you don't draw the removal spell.
It wouldn't surprise me if Joe got out of Pack Rat in this matchup. Jeff's really good at clogging up the ground. He's shown a lot of removal spells. I wouldn't want to try to win that kind of fight.
You can definitely cut down, trim some.
Yeah, maybe you want to have a couple copies. But
Temple of Abandon. Top card stays on top very quickly there for Jeff. Joe will draw. Oh, here's a duress. Oh, probably Chandra leaving, I would imagine. There's definitely a chance that it's Nizia Mortars, but Chandra is, I would say, the more powerful of the two.
yeah. And it feels like it's so easy. This is the same issue we saw in the black-white matchup from Jeff's side. It feels so easy to use discard spells on the things of substance that he has. Leave him with removal spells that allow you to either top deck discard down the line or play the threat he doesn't have the right answer for.
Jeff left will read the bones on top. He's going to scribe both those cards to the bottom, draw 2 mystery cards. He took a lot of damage to do that, 4 of it. Well, it looks like he recovers nicely from the discard spells. Bernal will play a Temple. Top card stays on top. Now it's a Pack Rat. So we'll see if Jeff does have the answer. Oh, I guess we do know that he has the Mortars, and that would likely be Jeff's entire turn. So it feels like Joe's trying to force his hand.
That's the key in all of this, and why I've really liked the way that Joe's paced these games so far. He's trying to make Jeff play inefficiently. You can see right now, Jeff has the option of casting Xenagos, but this risks maybe losing the Xenagos for very little.
Now there is Xenagos. Here's an attack for 3. Excuse me, Xenagos is at 3, and it's attack for 2. I apologize. Bernal down to 16. And he will draw a card. Pack Rat will go after the Xenagos. Now here's Desecration Demon. Xenagos a natural answer to the 6/6 flyer.
Yeah, but Joe's happy to tread water here. If Jeff's using his resources like that, he'll eventually get to the Xenagos or just do something more powerful.
See what Jeff can figure out on this turn. There's a Temple. Top card stays on top.
Very quickly.
Yeah. Another Satyr token. So Xenagos has been used this turn. Jeff still with that Mortars in hand. This might be a Rabble Master here, perhaps? Yeah.
These are among Jeff's better cards in the matchup, certainly. These 2 plus Nissa.
Nice token. I'm just going to attack. Yeah, that's going to bite the dust. Just pass the turn back. Jeff going to try to control the Desecration Demon, I believe, with Xenagos and the Satyr tokens.
Not a bad recipe, but there is some risk here, you know. If Joe ever finds Bioblight, for example, Jeff might lose everything or may even just die.
Yeah, if it's still in his deck, Bioblight could really make things ugly. A second Desecration Demon doesn't make things any easier. Putrefy is a pretty nice draw there for Jeff this turn, though.
No surprise he left Putrefy on top of his deck. It's
Yeah.
one of his very few clean answers to Desecration Demon.
Mortar's going to take care of that. Putrefy going to take care of that. This is going to allow Jeff to actually start attacking now. Satyr token, Rabble Master. I love attacking with everybody here.
This is Jeff's first real good turn of the match.
Yep. Back over to Bernal we go. Bernal will draw a card. He's at 8 life, though. You see, he's stuck with the Liliana Vest in his hand. Yeah, and he knows he's beat. He's going to pick it up. So Jeff Hoogland's going to tie things up here against Joe Bernal. Jund, Rabble, and Mono Black Devotion headed to a 3rd game now.
Just like we saw in game 1 there. Jeff with a timely read the bones off the top. And this time he actually had the ability to convert those resources into something substantial, able to beat Joe before Joe could get much of anything going.
Bernal's going to go back to the drawing board here and take a look at the sideboard. Jeff's going to do the same, so we will talk about our quarter 1 schedule for 2015. We'll start things up in Columbus, head to Philly after that. To DC, we will go after a quick week off, and then to Indianapolis, one of our favorite cities.
Yeah, the Columbus-Indianapolis opening in January. We did that this year as well. 2 very well-attended tournaments. Should be a lot of fun.
We'll go to Houston for the first time, follow that up with Los Angeles,
Baltimore.
Baltimore, and then we'll have a Grand Prix in Miami. I guess the Drivable Open is a big deal for you. I didn't even think about that.
Don't get a lot of them.
And then we'll close out with Dallas, and then our Invitational in Richmond. That'll be the Season 1 Invitational. Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4. They'll be in the same cities as they were this year. Columbus, New Jersey, and Seattle.
Yeah. Richmond replacing Charlotte.
Yes, that is the only major change. So we will have fun with that. I'm really looking forward to, again, all these invitationals, and for you, a Drivable Open, and for me, if I do the Open in Los Angeles, a Flyable Open.
Yeah,
I'm in the same time zone. It's only like a 2-hour, 20-minute flight. That's always a delight.
We'll be in the middle of the basketball season, so a good chance we'll be able to check out the Lakers or Clippers.
Hopefully watch the Clippers lose. That'd be
Friday
great.
night.
I would love that.
Probably unlikely that they will lose,
Oh,
especially if the Warriors are in town.
what are you trying to say? I don't appreciate whatever it is. What if the Cavs come to town? Oh, my God. The venom I will spew.
That's
You think you'll win that game?
It's going to be a pricey ticket.
You think you'll win that game? I'll pay whatever it takes to go to that game, just to make fun of you the entire time that LeBron is destroying you.
He's just great to watch. I don't even mind.
I just want you to know now, I'm going to be insufferable the entire time the Cavs are playing.
Oh, you weren't insufferable last year with the Warriors or 3 years ago with the Grizzlies? No, you were insufferable the whole time. I'm already priced in.
I was. You're right.
I'm already priced into this being the experience. Don't worry about it.
What you don't know, it's going to be worse because it's actually my team that's good now.
Yeah.
The other teams, I mean, I was rooting for the Grizzlies just because I wanted to root against you. I was rooting for the Warriors because I actually love the Warriors and I'm not a bandwagoner. But it's the Cavs, my hometown team. I am just going to be all up in your grill.
It was interesting to me you needed to clarify that you were going to be insufferable because I already knew that going in. We already knew that.
I just want to clarify that you think you have an idea in your head of how insufferable I'm going to be. You're not even close.
Okay.
That's the thing. That's all. I'll bring you like a Cavs blanket and just everything. It's just going to be really bad.
Yeah.
Totally worth it, though. Oh, we're unbeatable. Just give us the title now. Do we even have to play the games?
Are Cavs blankets fire retardant because the city's on fire so frequently?
No, they're not.
They're
not. Should probably be part of the deal.
Yeah, that should be part of the deal.
Make all the jokes you want. I don't care.
Can I get a Cleveland Cavaliers hazmat suit or a gas mask or something?
They're expensive. They are expensive.
Okay.
It's not pretty. We're still the best.
Believe
You
land.
can just give us Give us the title. Ohio is for lovers,
Yeah.
as they say.
I don't think they say that. I thought it was Virginia.
No, Ohio is for lovers. That's a song by a really bad band.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh.
Hawthorne Heights.
Yep.
Duh. Come on, don't date yourself that much.
What do you mean,
To be
date
fair,
myself?
the song is horrible.
The Hawthorne Heights is not a band I would ever listen to. So even if it was something recent, it's not like I would know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Who do we like in this matchup for Game 3?
I like Joe's side. I think Jeff can definitely win. We saw game 2. We kind of saw the recipe. But the Jeff's answers to Joe's threats dynamic of the matchup, I really dislike, particularly with Joe having a lot of discard spells post-board. Assuming he brought in the duresses alongside the Thoughtseizes, the full play set.
I imagine that he did.
Jeff can get things to line up the right way, but all of Jeff's card advantage is implied or contextual besides read the bones. It's the board needs to be a particular way for them to work. And that's challenging to do when you're playing against a deck with this much discard. There also just aren't a lot of answers in Jeff's deck to Desecration Demon. You can see he can beat it sort of a sideways manner by having a bunch of tokens. But otherwise, it's a Hero's Downfall, one more to the board, a Putrefy, 2 Dreadbores. It's something of an exposed weakness of this deck.
It's very easy for Joe to set up a path where Desecration Demon is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Between discard taking the removal spells or you playing out a Pack Rat to buy out a removal spell. Here's a Duress. You see a couple of lands there along with the Chandra, Read the Bones, and a Golgari Charm. No temples in that hand.
And I think in a subtle way, Jeff has one of the best cards in his hand in the matchup in Read the Bones. And I think that might be the card that Joe takes. It was what swung around game 2 and what nearly swung around game 1.
I actually take that back. There's a Temple of Malice. I thought it was a Blood Crypt originally, but Joe has spread out the hand better for us, thankfully, and for him. So there goes the G-Charm.
That has to mean that Underworld Connections is in Joe's hand.
Mm-hmm. Blood Crypt was the draw. So there's a Temple. It's time to scry. Leave it on top. Back to Bernal we go. Time for another discard spell. Thoughtseize. Probably the Bones.
Yeah. I don't think Chandra matters too much in this matchup.
It's another discard spell?
Sure, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I hope your draws are good.
Jeff could really use Read the Bones. Did he just draw
I
it?
think that's what he drew. He left the scry on top very fast. Oh, Bernal with no third land. Jeff draws. Jeff with a Blood Crypt past the turn back, so probably not Read the Bones. Joe draws a land. Let's see what he has here. It's a Nightfell Spectre. Pass the turn back over to Hoogland. Hoogland will draw a card. It's a Temple. That's going to come into play. See Matt Hoey there, a careful observer. Now there's your Hero's Downfall. Bernal. It's a land, but it comes into play tapped. It's a Temple.
A big cost at this stage of Joe's play this turn is Underworld Connections.
And it certainly is. So it doesn't get the extra card this turn. Jeff will draw and play a Goblin Rabblemaster. In for 1, he comes. Bernal down to 15. Bernal will untap here. He does have a Hero's Downfall in hand. Just picked up a copy of Grey Merchant. Will spend a life to draw a card. Down to 14 he goes.
This is the spot where I think Joe is really favored because Jeff has so few draws in his deck that are either proactive or appropriately reactive. He's got a lot of lands he can draw. He also has a lot of draws like Mizzium Mortars, Dreadbore, whatever, that don't really provide a lot of assistance against Joe's Underworld Connections.
Bernal gets a good look at the Rabblemaster, make sure he knows exactly how it works, kills it before it does trigger. And attack for 1's going to put Joe down to 13. Jeff going to play an Overgrown Tomb and kick the turn back over to Bernal. Bernal draws another Temple. See if he wants to play this before the activation of Underworld Connections or after. He's certainly giving it some thought. Looks like it's going to be after. Scry, bottoms up, goes that card. Now here's an activation. He goes down to 12. But a lot of life to work with here for the Mono Black Devotion player.
Very powerful hand that Joe has as well.
I was going to say, it's starting to look like a lot of options to work with, which is the more scary of the two. There's a Pack Rat. Hoogland will draw. It's an attack for 1. It looks like Jeff's hand is all lands at this point.
Yeah.
Stomping ground, tapped, pass the turn back over to Bernal. Again, if you're Bernal, you do want to keep your life total high because Jeff does play Rakdos' return.
Nissa as well.
Yeah.
Another potential variable.
There's an attack with the Pack Rat. You saw Joe play a Mutavault first. He's able to go down this road. Here's a Desecration Demon. Joe looking to close it out pretty quickly. Hoogland will draw a card. It's more lands. There's a Thoughtseize, and it's a concession. Joe Bernal's going to win this match over Jeff Hoogland 2-1. And for Bernal and his Mono Black Devotion deck, he's 7-1 now.
Right within striking distance of the elimination rounds.
Yep.
Got to pick up one more win next round. Probably in a position to draw after that. For Jeff, a very good run here. Got to be a little frustrated. Was 5-0 at one point and now out of top 8 contention.
Yeah, lost 2 Black Devotion decks, and I do feel like